Today is Friday, March 6th, and today's rant will be titled Cristie and Essogate. And this has to deal with the fact that very recently there was a lawsuit that the state of New Jersey has been involved in for the last 10 years against Exxon Mobile Corporation concerning 15,000 acres or 1,500 acres of land in northern New Jersey, which was a plant that Exxon Mobile had used for years. This was a long, long time ago, and they dumped thousands of gallons of gas and other toxic chemicals all over the place in there, and that it is an environmental hazard, it's an environmental mess. And it's my understanding is that the negotiations have been going on for 10 years. They're pretty close to being settled. The original starting point was $8.9 billion, which means that that's how much money Exxon Mobile would pay the state of New Jersey to clean up the mess. Now, bringing in Cristie right now, he recently brought in a crony of his, made him a head of that little committee that dealt with the Exxon Mobil thing, and supposedly very quietly last week he settled a deal with Exxon Mobil for $250 million out of $8.9 billion. And supposedly the judge was going to make a ruling on this very soon, here's the reason why this was done. Okay, number one, is that very quietly last year, Cristie administration put some wording into something, an appropriations bill, into some, whatever it is, indicating that any money that was received from an environmental settlement, that the first $200 million of that would go to the state coffers and would not be used for the environmental cleanup, meaning that any money after the $200 million would go to to clean up the mess that Exxon created. So that only leaves $50 million out of what we started out as being $8.9 billion, which is less than 1%. And the question is why did Cristie do that? Well, the reason Cristie did that is because he wants to be President of the United States. And to be President of the United States, he has to make his administration and what he did in New Jersey look good. One of the things he's going to be running on is that he balanced the budget for all these years. And one of the ways that he's going to balance the budget this year is he's going to make the settlement with Exxon Mobil right now so that the money can be put in the coffers of the state so that he balances the budget. So he can say that he balanced the budget without raising taxes, which is all sleight of hand. So who got screwed in this whole thing? Oh, well, I would say just the citizens of New Jersey. Now, let's go into the fact that this is what Cristie has done many times over the course of his administration. In terms of the additional tunnel that was going to be built between New Jersey and New York, he stopped that cold after it had already started. He took the money from the federal highway used that to build fix or build some other bridges, and that way he didn't have to raise the gas tax. And of course, that's how he claims that he balances the budget. Now, let's get something straight here. Cristie is doing this for one person, and that's Cristie and no one else. He only wants to be President of the United States, and even though he's not looking pretty good lately, this is what he wants to do. And this is what is very, very true of a true narcissist, is that he will do anything and screw anyone so that he can get what he wants. Now, I don't know what the final settlement would have been, $5 billion, $8.9 billion, $2 billion, whatever, but it's very likely that it would have been considerably more than $250 million. And we also know that the judge who's supposed to make a ruling on that for that judge to indicate that is a fair settlement. I don't really know how that would, that if the judge, well, whatever, the judge would never have made an amount that small. So this is coming up. This is something that I would say that Cristie should go to jail for. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring it up today, because it just came up, it's going in context with what's going on behind the scenes. Now, I recently talked about Billy O'Reilly being just a serial liar about things. Cristie's going to go out there and tout about how his administration is just fabulous because they balanced the books and they didn't raise the gas tax and all of this other kind of stuff. And this is how Republicans day in and day out screw average working people. Because remember, Cristie reneged on the amount of money that he was going to invest in pensions for state workers. Remember, state workers, these are people who are close to retirement, who are already retired, who have been putting money into a pension for years and years. And yes, I will admit that other governors in the state did not meet their obligations. At the same time, he made a deal that he would commit a certain amount, and he decided to renege on the deal solely because it would hurt his chances of becoming president, because he kept the money in the state coffers to say that he balanced the budget. In the meantime, he screwed the pensioners over. So, and then we have the Bridgegate thing, which has been expanded quite a bit, and Sampson may be indicted soon. Of course, you know, it was funny. I heard that last June that there would be indictments handed out in July, and then we heard in December that the indictments would be handed out in early January, and I believe in January they said it'd be out by early February. Now here it is March, they're not out yet. But I would say that there will be indictments, and the reason why I say that is that the longer it takes for these indictments to come out means that there's just that much to do, and there's that much they're going after, and Cristie's going to be in the middle of it right from the beginning. But let me get back to Cristie himself as a human being. All right, you know, and this is why I differ with my sisters and brothers on the Republican side vehemently, is because day in and day out, the Republicans' perspective, the Republicans' persona, the Republicans' grand plan for living is to screw the average working person and to help big corporations and the people who are at the top of the big corporations. It's like they get their gun off, you know, on screwing a little person and helping someone who doesn't need the help anyway. And Cristie has consistently done that, and his bravado that he has is not my cup of tea. He's a lot of other people's not cup of tea. And you know, this goes again back to another part of why I disagree vehemently with people, with conservatives, Republicans, Tea Partiers, however you want to call them, libertarians or whatever, is that their view of life, their grand plan for living is basically, I got mine, you got yours, you're on your own. And to me, and when you're in charge of a state like New Jersey, you're entrusted to do everything in your power to help the people of New Jersey. And in most instances, that is to curb corporate excesses, whereas all he's doing is enhancing corporate excesses. That, to me, is immoral, and that, to me, is why I had a previous rant on Cristie, which was entitled Cristie and the 7 Deadly Sins, where he met almost all of the obligations of the 7 deadly sins. But again, this is immoral, this is unethical, and this is what I would call spiritual bankruptcy, where your need to suffice, or to get where you need to get, is so paramount that you will screw over anybody to get what you want. And what he wants is the presidency, and hopefully he'll not get it, and he might actually get a new address, but it won't be on Pennsylvania Avenue.